circulated out there as far as the audit is concerned. Initially, I was accused of refusing to provide uh, uh, the income and asset information to, to permit the auditor complete the general audit, and that prompted, unfortunately, Secretary Chris, who also had very little information on what was going on, to go out and attack me that I am sitting on information, and I was the person doing the collection, the disbursement, and the treasurer at the same time. I think my previous presentation had provided some clarifications on that, and debunked most of the lies that have that were being perpetuated by him. But I know that he could not have done that without the blessings of AIP Sako. So I raised the issues in the cabinet. Once Chris attacked me, Sako came out and put out a letter trying to reinforce the position of Secretary Chris, and I was forced to now go out and defend myself. I think we all know what happened. He put out an executive order which was laughable, and called for an immediate audit and gave a time frame. Had this guy, a certain Dr. Metuge, another lousy fellow, to fly from England to the US to do an internal audit. I mean, little did I know that the focus was me and my department, which I do not have any qualms with. I just believe that if it's done right, it's for the general benefit of Ambazonia. And if he had consulted me as the head of department about the need for this audit, I would have told him that a single individual could not complete this audit, and even within the given time frame. But I was not consulted because everything was done to show that Brado had not completed the audit in the first quarter, the second quarter, the third quarter, and even the fourth quarter. And again, that is even misrepresented and a complete distortion, because even our own internal policies and procedures do not require an audit every quarter. I think there's a complete lack of understanding on quarterly financial reports with audits. Even the quarterly financial report, as I earlier indicated, the first quarter, which we came in, which was chaotic, the abduction and all of that, I succeeded in even buying the software at the end of March. The first quarter was already gone. I had that information put in. Second quarter, I had that information put in, up to I gave a financial report to the current VP, Daphne Yerima, who was supposed to take it to the UN, United Represented People Organization, UNPO. I gave him an uncompleted financial report because the expenditures from the presidency were not made available to me. And I think that dragged on until finally we had those reports, bundle some of the information, because I did not end up receiving the proper clarification on the nature of the expenditures at the presidency. So a lot of the information that you see on the financial statement and even on the audit, that they say supplies, I cannot exactly say what was bought with those supplies. But, and that is why I insisted that whatever audit we are going to do, there must be a physical inspections of the records. All the records are available. I reiterate, all the records are available. No one should say that the records were not available. So the auditor, the president asked that I should buy a flight ticket for the auditor. I bought a flight ticket. He got here on a certain Monday. On Tuesday, he called me. He said he was tired. I said he should get a rest, and we should begin the audit process on Wednesday. Unfortunately, on Wednesday, there was a heavy snowstorm in Maryland, so we could not meet. But I told him that we're not going to allow the day to go by like that. I am going to forward him the income statement for both Ambazonian Foundation and Ambazonian Consulting, which I did. I forwarded him that information. I said he should start reviewing the information and we should meet the next day. So the next day was a Thursday. I drove over to his place in Mount Rainier, where I think it's a certain tribesman or clansman that he was living with. I drove over there, picked him up, drove him to this my office, gave him one of the offices to sit there, and gave him all the bank statements, gave him all the invoices and some of the wire transfer documents in a black plastic bag. And then I went into QuickBooks and printed out the accounts by customer and income by customers, and then expenditure by vendors, because I entered the vendors, the departments as vendors, and then the money that was coming in as customers. That's just for the software, so I could actually identify where and when the money was spent. So I gave him all of this information, and I told him that if there is anything that you need, please do not hesitate to ask. I have that in a WhatsApp message. I will show that. If there is anything that you need, anything that I don't have, please talk to the auditor. Do you have his number? He told me that yes, he has the number of the auditor, Dr. Helena Kongi. I said, okay, that's fine. So I left him. I had something to do. I had a business meeting I had to attend. So I said, okay, I'm going to leave you in the office and I will be back. But if I'm not back, please just leave the door. I will come back and then I will close the door. But I closed my main office door. So he was there. He was in the office till about 7 p.m. And then Sebastian called for Uber for him. And the Uber picked him up from my office and he left. After he left, we only talked on the phone and through WhatsApp. And I think Sako had met with him twice while he was here. I think I can remember something very carefully that he said, that we just need to do this quick audit, because I complained to him. I said, there is no way you're going to finish this audit in 8 days. And if I knew this was the case, I would have advised the president not to say 8 days, but I was not consulted. I said, because you would have to talk to all of these departments and they will have to provide you with information that yes, Brado gave us 300,000 and this is how we spend the $300,000. And I don't see you completing that job within 8 days. I mean, irrespective of the fact that these are just income and revenue, and I have entered all of the information, I have reconciled all the information. He said, well, that is okay. The treasurer called me and said the auditor had called her and wanted to meet with her, that he wanted the records of the cash app. And then he later asked that there is another account, the Ambazonian Foundation, that is a deposit for the monies from Braintree and I think PayPal. And I said, well, I do not have all of that information. The treasurer has that information. When you meet with the treasurer, anything that I have not provided to you, please ask it from the treasurer. She will provide that to you. And I instructed the treasurer, please provide anything that the auditor is going to ask from you. So he completed everything here and he left. And I knew that everything was okay. I was only surprised that he got to Europe and called one of my family. He didn't know that I was connected to that individual and started talking about me and the audit and all of that. And I was stunned. I said, I did what I had to do. There is nothing that I did not do. Even if I did something, it is his position to tell me that, brother, I didn't get this information, I need this information. But for him to be talking like this, something is not right. But I said, I'm not going to, I called the AP and I told him, I told the AP that I wanted him to listen, but I'm not going to allow that to undermine the audit. I'm not going to make a big fuss about it because I have the data. Nobody is going to change the data. If I can show you that I received $1 million, I spent $1 million, I can show you where the $1 million went to. That is where my responsibility ends. There is nothing that I am hiding. And I must not go out there and tell the whole world that this is the situation. So I was confident. So he won. I sat me quiet. I didn't make a big deal out of it. I didn't even tell him that this is what you wrote against me. So I around the 15th, the report came out. Even before that, some the previous incompleted report that he wrote. The previous incompleted report that he wrote came out, and he basically accused me of putting this report out, and I was stunned. I'm like, you did not even give me the report. How would you now say that I put this report out? So there was a whole lot of noise within the government and all of that. So on the 15th of March, he submitted the report to AIP Sako, and AIP Sako quickly created a forum for him, Professor Ayim, Chris Chopper, and Chairman Elvis Kometa to review the audit. I think that is when Kometa quickly said, but he did not tell them. He was thinking to himself, we're going to talk about the audit, and the person who is actually at the center of the audit is not in this forum. So he called me and forwarded that information to me, and I look at it and I said, Chad, this is what this guy has done. So it was all about Brado, because I'm looking at the report and it was terribly done. It was inept, and I have never seen such a lousy report. And I'm asking, because I didn't question his qualification, I don't know his background, but does this guy really know what an audit is? Who even does an audit and put the entire general ledger of the entity that they are auditing out? You need a summary report of whether it's an adverse opinion or not. What is going on? So Chairman Kometa sent me that report, and I stayed quiet. I did not say nothing in the cabinet. I just read it and I sat quiet, and I was planning that I was going to respond. So AIP Sako 2 days later sent me the audit report and said, we need to talk. Let's find time and talk about this audit. I am busy today. So I responded to him that I am surprised. I don't know why the report was presented to him. I don't know why the report was presented. I don't know why the report was presented to him instead of to me. And I think that we are not doing administration in reverse. As the head of the department, if they are auditing the entire government, the report is supposed to be submitted to me. We will review that with the internal auditors, and then we present it to the president with our recommendations. But now report was submitted to you. You submitted the report to the Restoration Council, and he said, oh, no. He just got the report, and I was just laughing at myself that he did not know that I already saw the report 2 days before he was telling me that bold-faced lie that he just got the report. I said, okay, but I don't know what I'm going to sit and talk with you about this report. I now understand that the report was targeting Brado and the Department of Economy and Finance. I do not have a problem with it, but I will respond. I will respond to the Resolution Council, and I will respond to you. And I hope that you will share that results with the other members of cabinet. So I responded, and I sent it to Commenter. Commenter said send it to Chris Chopper. I sent it to Chris Chopper, and I sent it to AIP Sako. And I spoke to Chris Chopper, and I was just baffled by the cavalier nature that he responded to me concerning the audit. And I said, what am I going to do? I said, okay, I'm just going to wait. And his response turned out to be an indication of the way he treated my response, because they ended up sending a series of questions after the cabinet had decided to recall the audit from the Restoration Council to me. And if they had read my response to the audit, the questions that they were asking in that request for clarification from the Restoration Council would not have been put forward, because there were clear answers in there. But regardless, I also ignored it. I didn't read it. I said, I didn't pay attention to say I'm going to respond to it. Why will I be responding to request for clarification when I have submitted a response to the audit to the Restoration Council and nothing was done? So there was a lot of build up with questions about the audit. So the president decided that the cabinet should take a day and discuss the audit. So I said, okay, it is a good thing that the cabinet should take a day and discuss the audit. So on that day that the cabinet was supposed to discuss the audit, before we started, I pleaded with the cabinet that, listen, I have two questions that I need to ask to the president and the auditor before we can start with the audit. It is only when we address these two questions, then we can now actually determine the direction in which we are going to review this audit. So I was given the floor to do it. So my question to the auditor and the AIP Sako was to know whether the audit was a general audit of the entire interim government, or it was an audit targeted at Brado and the Department of Economy and Finance. Now, they didn't know why I asked that questions. And the auditor came and said, oh, it was for the entire government. IM came and said, oh, then we should change the title. Because the title is depicting that the audit was for Brado and the Department of Economy and Finance. And I said, well, the reason I asked that question is precisely what Professor Ayim is saying. The engagement letter, which I'm going to put out a screenshot that he sent to me, said Department of Economy and Finance. The audit report, the title was an audit report for the Department of Economy and Finance. So my question to the auditor was, why do we have all the other cabinet members here? Because in the audit report that I'm also going to put out, you have not commented on any of the departments. That is when it looked like it was already built up against Brado. He exploded. There's a certain other woman that they call Gucci Grace. Is it the Grace Mugabe of Amazonia? Exploded and said, Brother Tabyenang, who are you? You are so incompetent, and there was just too much noise, to the point where it said, Brado, you are a bastard. The auditor said I am incompetent. I have never written anything for since I was appointed as a secretary. I have not written any project. I have not raised any money, and I always sit for people to raise money, and I try to spend that I needed to be fired. I'm sitting there asking myself, what exactly am I doing here? The auditor, who is supposed to be an independent-minded person, Is now, irrespective of what he said in the audio that I said he said about me. Now he's saying that in the open. So I told Gucci Grace, I said, listen, you can, Tabyenang is incompetent, has never done anything. You can take a noose, put it in your neck, and commit suicide, or you can drink gamalin or something. If you feel that I am not, I should be fired and all of that stuff, you run the government now, but you will run the presidency. You're not going to run the department that I am heading until I leave. And I made sure that that did not happen. I made sure that whatever they cooked up in that department, it did not happen until I leave. And that's the reason why I could hold the record. They can see the records, and the records are available. When we organize for a proper audit, the records are available so that everybody should see. I'm not saying anything, these things for people to take me for my word, even though I hold my word with utmost respect and interest. But people should actually see what happened, and that's why I'm going to put out a lot of this information out here for people to see. So the meeting ended up with a note that they are going to, because they themselves got to the point where they agreed with my recommendation that there should be a proper audit, because I think Secretary Christian will complain that how can they do an audit and they show all these hundreds of thousands of dollars on his name, and then he was not even called by the auditor to confirm whether these monies came to him or not. Even Sebastian Baruku also challenged the auditor and said, listen, I spent a lot of the money, but I was not questioned. Even Kometa, who also spent money, also was not questioned. So how can this be an audit? And then you conveniently just comment on the presidency alone. So I took my time to respond to his opinions, his observation, and his recommendations. And the first thing I tried to correct was the audit was supposed to be for the entire government and not for Prado. So they accepted with that and decided that they were going to recall the audit. So that is how up to today the audit has not been released. The cabinet sent a request to the Registration Council that they want to withdraw the audit and conduct a new audit. I think they talked about a committee. The auditor came and was making a lot of noise that, oh, there was something I was hiding. I did not provide him the information that he requested. And I said, it is not enough for you to say that I did not provide the information that you requested. Please enumerate the information that you requested from me and it was not provided to you in writing anywhere that you requested for that information, and I refuse providing that to you. Up to today, I have not received that. And I will say it clearly, I have not in any way, in shape and form, tried to present obstacles for a proper audit being done. I think that the auditor was, the job was overwhelming to him. I am not going to say he's incompetent. I don't know his background, but based on the observation and his opinion and his recommendation, I felt that something was not right. He was severely influenced by the meetings that he had with AIP Sako. So his very first concern in the audit, he talked about there were so many irregularities, which I told him that, listen, that he lacks a proper understanding of an audit process and did not even ask a single question concerning the internal control structure, because I thought that the first thing you do as an auditor is to understand the financial environment that you're going to be auditing. And the first document that I provided to him was the internal procedures, policies and procedures of the government. That actually spells out the role of the treasurer, how the approval process, how we recognize revenue, and how we recognize expenses. I submitted that document to him, but to my surprise, he did not even review that document. And then he also misstated the period of the audit. Instead of from November 2017 to December 31st, 2018, he said January 2019. And then he also complained about the fact that the very first Amazonian Foundation account for donations was closed without any balance forwarded. Again, that is not true, because I provided him all the printed hard copies of the statements of the Amazonian Foundation from when it was open to September when it was closed. Why was even because once an account is closed, you do not have access online. And I explained that to him, but you do not even need access online when you have the physical bank statement to review what were the financial activities during that period of time. And I think he had some difficulties as far as working with computers. And then because he did not take the time to review those statements, he could not even reconcile the actual balance in the bank accounts, both the Amazonian Foundation and Amazonian Consulting. He gave a balance of $31,000, $278.86, 10,000 more than the actual balance. And I, reviewing what he had done, I know exactly where he made that error. But if he had consulted with me before presenting the report to the president, we would have resolved that problem. And when the president took the report, if he had consulted with me before sending it to the Restitution Council, we would have resolved some of the problem before he even sent the report to the Restitution Council, and we made a ridicule of ourselves. And I knew all of these things was just trying to paint Brado that this is where the problem is. And then he went further to say there were no statements of account for the period for DOD contributions and fundraising from inception to April. And I was just so dumbfounded that he was even going to bring in DOD without even commenting about Department of Homeland Security or the ASC. We did not even spend money with DOD. We disbursed $10,000 to DOD. Immediately the leaders were abducted, and they in turn raised about $3,700 and something dollars. So in essence, we spent just about $7,000 to the DOD outfit. But for him to say from inception, as if the period in which he was auditing included the period of inception of DOD, that he doesn't even know the inception. So it was embarrassing that this is we're like looking for straws to pick and bring in and say, okay, why are we auditing all these other groups and we are not talking about DOD? And besides, even the people who manage the DOD and the SCAPAC account, they are in jail. How would you now ask them questions to say, hey, what happened with this money and all of that? So I thought it was just a distraction from there. And then he said, my trip to Buea was supposed to have a separate account, which was a little bit foolish, because from So my trip to Buea, he said there was it's supposed to be a separate account. It was not there in the beginning. How would he know all of these things? I just realized that this information was given to him by AIP Sako, because his desire was to have a separate account that was not controlled by me. But I was firm, and I said, irrespective of how you've alienated me from participating in the planning, the programming, and all of that, I am going to make sure that I see where the money was going to. And he later said that he could not actually state with facts how much money was raised from my trip to Buea. And again, and I'm asking him, I know that Gucci Grace had given him in the leaked audit report that the total amount of money that was raised for my trip to Buea was about $811,000, which is something that I also confirmed with him, that the total amount raised was about $811,000, about 560 something or 80 something online. You take which I would explain in the my trip to Buea section, which you take the 3.8% that my mobile cost was taken, about 193 that came in from the countries and other regions, and then a couple of other amounts that we raised between myself and the treasurer. So for him to go out and say he cannot state how much was raised because there was no account was just it's dishonest at best, because we can have a single account in the bank, but within the accounting software we can actually identify that this is my trip to Buea, and we can also expense that this money came from my trip to Buea. That I would show the records on the accounting software, the QuickBooks that we use. So it was a little bit disingenuous for him to make that argument that he cannot in the final audit report that he presented now. Meanwhile, in the first audit report, he clearly made it obvious for people to see. And then he said he did not receive any statements of accounts from the ASC. And I said, I did not present you with any information as given money to the ASC. Why are you asking them for a statement of account? The statement of account has to come from the Department of Homeland Security and the presidency, because these are the individuals that I showed you record that money left from the account, and I knew they were just trying to avoid asking the proper questions. So, and then he also complained about some collaboration, that access to online donations through Southern Cameroon Federal Republic of Bazunia website, Tessin Levy. This, again, I gave him all of the access. I gave him access to Braintree. I gave him access to PayPal. I gave him access to mobile costs. I gave him access to all the financial statements. And we made a Zoom meeting with him to walk him through signing up into these platforms, and it to me, I find it difficult to even be talking about this kind of flimsy complaints without you dealing into the proper aspect in which the people wanted to know. This amount of money was raised. Where did this money go to? He complained that wire transfers had no book of records, but that is again far from the truth, because I gave him the whole bank statement in a white plastic bag that I'm going to show you, and even in the bank statements you will see when you do a wire transfer, they will show the name and the destination of that wire transfer. He had these records. He didn't just do a proper job of reviewing all of these records. And then he complained about sub-accounts. How can you be complaining about sub-accounts? When you open the master account, you have access to all the sub-accounts. So he said, well, access was not given to him for all the sub-accounts, which to me, again, it just demonstrated that he did not really understand the banking system here. I mean, I think, and then he selectively, within that audit report, I'm just going to try to wrap it up quickly, he selectively only decided to comment on the expenditures of the presidency. He said, oh, traveling, flights, accommodation, car hiring services, out of town. But out of town, he forgot that Randers town, where the president lives, is in town. That you have a car, with a car, that he owns a car, rentals for enterprise for $1,000. I mean, it is really something that is difficult for you to even fathom. But the entire charade, I call it, of the putative audit, was for him to cast that, irrespective of all what people are saying, the president spend money legitimately, which again that would be based on the interpretation of our people. If they sanction the outrageous expenditures that were done, that is their call. It's not a call for Brado. In as much as I could identify that this money was spent by this individual, let the people decide. I am not going to be the judge of that, but I know that you cannot spend close to $130,000 from March to December on average. That is on average about $10,000 that you spent a month in an organization or a government that is struggling. That is just not right. So I am going to tell you guys, I will put the audit report on slides, and you people would see my comments on his observation and conclusions. And at the end, I recommended that there should be a proper audit. When I said a proper external audit, I was insulted by one of my former cabinet secretaries, my brother Itangi, openly asked who is Brado to be calling for an external audit. But today, that's exactly what they're doing. Now they call for that they have set up a committee headed by the same Dr. Metuge as the chair of that audit committee, and then the guy has the audacity to call me and to even send me information that they will need me to be present on a Zoom conference call and talk about the audit, to complete the audit. I'm asking, how dumb can this be? So you did an audit, submitted the audit without being without the audit being completed. What kind of professional are you that you completed an exercise in March? 3 months down the road, you are trying to redo the exercise all over again. And then the individual that you have demonstrably described as inept, ineffective, corrupt, you are going to that same individual to have him come back and collaborate with you in doing another audit. Do you really think that even my 6-year-old daughter will be that dumb? I think she's going to tell me, Daddy, you are really, really dumb if you are going to submit yourself to that. So I have received calls from a certain Tabyenang from the UK. I had a WhatsApp request by a certain Dr. Yaya in Germany. So a certain Dr. Yaya sent me a WhatsApp message that she's been delegated to talk to me about the coming to testify with the new committee that has been put in place. I did not respond to her. Tabyenang from the UK called, and I think he called on video. We had a chat with him, and I took my time to explain to him some of these things, and I said there's nothing that we are hiding. It's just unfortunate that the auditor did not do a proper job, and I don't think that there is anywhere that you can do a proper audit on a Zoom conference call, because what has transpired, we need people to physically inspect the records. And I do not want to label any false accusation on whether Sako or any of these individuals. Let people see that money went to A, and A has to give an account of what was done with that money. The money that was spent by Brado has holds it as an obligation to also tell the Amazonians that this is the money that I spend. I spend money for Plan B, I spend money for the lawyers. This is the trail. So you clear, then you clear that, okay, this is what went to Brado and this is how he spent the money. So I spoke to Tabyenang at length, and I told him that I would not collaborate with any audit process online. And besides, I have made it very clear within the defunct cabinet that I am not going to participate in any audit process with Dr. Metuge being part of that audit process, because he demonstrated open bias towards my person, and then you would understand that you are engaging in a process that is not only flawed and corrupt, that after doing the hit or the hard-check job of Dr. Sako, Dr. Sako ended up appointing him as the undersecretary in my own the department that I had. So how would you really get a cabinet secretary in his defunct cabinet to chair the audit committee with somebody that the cabinet had already thrown out there to the wolves, that he is the cause of this audit? So all the documents have been provided. I have had this conversation with His Excellency President Sesekwa Utabe, with VP Comrade Daphne Yerima, and a couple of some activists. I have made it very clear I do not have any reason to hold on to the records, but if we're going to do an audit that I would feel comfortable, I do not have anything against the representative of the various counties that have been constituted in the said committee. I think it will be proper for us to also send representatives from my own side to be part of that audit. So I'll make it very clear. Tabyenang wants the audit completed so that everybody should be cleared. But we should not go out there and continue to peddle the falsified and erroneous information that Brado is refusing to submit documents to the auditors. The documents that will be submitted to the auditors are the same documents that were submitted to Dr. Metuge Ekome Zoge. There are no new documents, except somebody is going to tell me that we need this document, and I will review if that document was not submitted to him. Then I would look if I have that document available, and I will submit that document to that audit process. So whatever results or whatever opinion or recommendation that the quote-unquote audit committee that they have put together to do an audit that was done and was never presented to the people, please disregard those recommendations. A proper audit must be done so that the records that I'm putting out as far as expenditures are concerned, people should see those records. I am carefully not putting out all the statement, because definitely they're going to say, oh, we have the records. No, I also understand what is going on. There should be a proper audit, and I am ready. It doesn't matter whoever is going to do the audit, but to be sure that I am not going to be taken for a ride and the distortions, we need to get a joint committee to do that audit. So the offer is out there on the table. I have spoken to, like I said, the president and VP Daphne Yerima. They are on board that they would be ready for a proper audit to be done by a properly set up committee that is inclusive and represents Ambazonians. It is not any committee that is set up by Sako that I am going to submit in that audit. So for that, I am saying that I would not submit to the committee that has been called up by the defunct AP, Dr. Samuel Sako, to complete the audit. If we're going to do an audit, I could recognize what they have put together and I would send in representation whenever they are ready. I don't even care if Metuge is leading that audit, so long as my representatives are going to be part of that process. So we are open for that conversation, and you, the activists out there who are running your mouth with the jumbled information that Metuge has put together, thinking that that is the right information, you are mistaken. Dr. Metuge jumble up the information. I see some clowns calling themselves Pornilong running around with records that he doesn't even understand the whereabouts of those records. And if you look at it in the audit that was done, I told him about bitcoins that are being run by the webmaster. Nothing about it. Told him about the President Corner account and Ambazonian for Ground Zero. Nothing about it. Nothing was done about it. And then you begin to ask, what was even the purpose of this audit? Oh, just focus on what Brado did and then come out with an empty report. And you can slide that in front of Ambazonians and tell them that, yeah, we've completed the audit. Now, when you realize that even your own supporters question the audit, I know they were questioning the audit because they expected that there were so egregious irregularities and misappropriation of funds. I know Secretary Chris has gone out there and indicated that, oh, there would be massive embezzlement, more than what even happened with Kapa. The auditor did not see all of that, so it was a little bit of a disappointment to some people. Now, nothing happened with that Brado, so now they're calling for the audit. So we are ready. Anytime that they are ready to do a joint audit, please, you know how to get to me, and I am ready to provide the report. These are the bank statements I'm going to show you on these screenshots and all around the pictures. Nobody should say that those statements are not available. Even if the bank statements are no longer available, you can go to the bank and request them. Any transaction that you did through the bank, that information stays there for a long period of time. And even if they no longer have it, you can pay for it and they will still provide that information to you. We are in a more advanced society. It's not a society where you go in and say, oh, we don't have records anymore. The records are available. It is not, do not take me for my word. Anybody who has been banking in this country should know that that is a basic requirement for a bank, that you probably keep those records for 7 years before you destroy the records. And even if they destroy it, they always have archives where they archive those records, and you can always pay to get those records. So that information is there. If information that is pertaining to what I spend, I cannot provide it, maybe for one reason or the other, I would know how to address it, but I can tell that this is money that was spent. So that is the audit report. Nobody should be expecting that this is the total amount of money or things that were done. That the audit report would not tell you that. He did not. He just rearranged the information in an orderly or disorderly format that jumbled up a lot of the information. That's why you have information circulating out there that people like Barrister Bobga spent $60,000 when he did not even spend $5,000. And you have people questioning, oh, Brado did not provide a report, so it gives room for people to know. It was not my responsibility to provide the report. I am only now talking about this report because one of them actually released the report because he thought he was going, he was attacking me for telling lies that Dr. Sako had sent me the report. And I think Dr. Sako himself talked about the audit. So I think it is open as that the information has been declassified for presentation to the public. So that is the audit report. But now I'm going to go down to my trip to Buea, and I know that everybody is anxiously waiting to know exactly what happened to my trip to Buea. Yeah, I think it would be a surprise to a lot of people to understand that even though I, Brado, was the one who sourced for the mobile cost platform that we use for my trip to Buea, but I got completely sidelined. I was told in my face that the director of my trip to Buea was not answerable to me, he was answerable to the presidency. And the director of my trip to Buea, a certain Gucci Grace, no, don't mind me, I'm just kidding here, came in and said, oh, she wanted to brand the AIP that the AP is a man in town, and I think that is exactly how carefully that the whole idea of the AP being the main sheriff in town got embedded into his head, thinking that he is the alpha and the omega of the struggle because somebody was going to about him. And that set the tension in the treasury, or the supposed treasury that was there. It got to the point because of the power tussle. Unfortunately, Dr. Festus Ndeye, who was supposed to be the chair of that treasury, decided to leave. I still have a communication between myself and him, given the frustration on him thinking I wanted the power, the director wanted the absolute control, and all of this kind of craziness. So the entire fundraising here in the United States and even in Canada was done without my participation. They set up fundraising events without my knowledge. Nobody informs me. I just hear the AP and a delegation of the security entourage have left for maybe San Antonio, Dallas for a fundraiser, and the next morning how much was raised, I don't know. I just see they go deposit money in the account sometimes. So the only time I actually went out on this my trip to Buea trips was in Philadelphia. That was for the Mid-Atlantic region, and I think Comrade Victorine Bolanga insisted that I had to go. I said I was a little bit reluctant. I said, listen, I don't want to come across like trying to be an impediment or being a nuisance. If they feel that there is no need for me to be active in this, even to organize people to talk on TV to promote my trip to Buea, I was completely forbidden from doing that, to the point where even writing acknowledgement letters to the people who collected the money, I was told not to do that. But at the end of the day, it could not be done, so I did that for every individual who gave me their money. They received an acknowledgement letter from me on a timely basis until when I was stopped not to do it. So how did we set it up? When he brought that idea up, even though at the end of the day I knew that limiting ourselves to 2 million and within the time frame was wrong, but I was not consulted. I said, when you gin up the excitement of people, and the whole idea was all the money that was going to come in there was for ground zero, and the refugees and all of that were supposed to wait. And because of that, everybody was excited, and then we basically stopped funding humanitarian activities. I think Comrade Kalesh can testify to that. By April, I had stopped spending money to that entity, to that department. So all the money that was supposed to come in for my trip to Buea was supposed to go to ground zero from March. So I knew that anything that came in March, moving forward, anything that I write for security or Department of Homeland Security related has to come from my trip to Buea. And then we set up the entire operation. Started with the mobile cost platform that I contracted. They agreed that they were going to only work with a non-profit entity, and we were going to pay $5,000 for the platform. By then, I had just filed for the 501c for Amazonian Foundation. So I gave them the documents of the filing, and we agreed to make two installment payments of $2,500 each to pay for their fees. And then we also agreed that we're going to take between 2.5 and 3.8% of all the collections that would come in. And I was cautious. I said, instead of allowing all the money to go through electronically, they should give us a check at the end of every month because I was afraid that if anything happens with the bank, they will be holding some of our money, and we can always recover the money and put it in a different bank account. So that is how we set it up. And in that platform, an average of about 2,600 and something individuals donated an average of about $250 or $225 for a whopping total of about 580 something thousand dollars. I think that record, they have the record. I will show the calculations when they take the platform takes their percentage. We'll see the balance. For the total raised by Sako's travels to across the U.S. and some of the countries that send in money, it was about $193,000. Another I received money from some other countries, the South African, the German people that send money, and then there was anonymous donations a year in the U.S. I received in the tune of about $34,000, and then the treasurer raised from the House of Lords about $10,000 something dollars. If you add all of those amounts, it would give you about $811,000, which is accurate after all the various discounts. So the money did not all come in a lump sum. No, the money was streaming in on a monthly basis, and whatever we raise for the month of June, for example, the check will come in the month of July, and I think initially Sako himself had indicated that we should allow the money to accumulate, and then he had some financial scheme. He was going to give some 300,000, and then they would give us millions, which I knew that it was bogus. And then later on he said, he will not do it again because they're accusing him that he wants to do his private business. And then now walk in the Joby Jenks people. By then they have connived with the chief of staff, and they wanted the money to go to Joby Jenks. They kept me aside. So we got all of that situation that I said, you know what, I'm just going to be quiet, but I am going to be monitoring what is coming out of these expenditures. So from the 811,000 that actually came in, I mean, I am telling what I saw came into the bank accounts. I am not going to talk about the amount of money they went for fundraisers that did not end up into bank accounts. That I cannot say it, but I know that there were times that cash was given. Even Frank CFA was given. That up to today I cannot put my fingers exactly where we ended up with those amounts. So from the 811,000 that was raised, I can tell you that about 600 went to Department of Homeland Security and related defense expenditures. About 100,000 went to Plan B. The AP, the Presidency's office, spent about 120. Part went to defense. Part went to the ABC, paying of the ABC TV, and part went to travel. So I'm going to give a detailed account on a spreadsheet that you would see as a slide for you to see how this money was spent. So nobody should sit out there, and I will tell you that for my trip to Buea alone, 99% of the approvals were done by the AP. So if he is keeping records, he should have those records. For him to go around telling Barrister So and or any other individual that I was sitting on the money, that is just far from the truth. So that is the situation with my trip to Buea. Now, Plan B. A lot of people will ask, what is Plan B? Plan B is the same thing that we did with Sako, to try to contract with a third party to assist us in this struggle with funding. And Plan B came with a package, the same way like the entities that we met with Siseko in December came as a complete package. For anybody to say, like Sako himself lying that His Excellency Siseko Ayoktabe had mortgaged $1 million for diplomacy for Ambazonians, that is not the truth. He was not even present. I was present at the meeting. Even the false notion that people are saying out here that there was no General XXX, that's not true. I saw General XXX. A few other individuals like my friend Brinsley probably saw them because Brinsley was a photographer, but he saw them, didn't know that probably that was the individual that they are referred to, General XXX. I mean, so to characterize what the $1 million that they were talking about, that Siseko mortgaged the interest of Ambazonian for diplomacy, that is far from the truth. Ambazonians were not going to pay for the $1 million. These individuals were going to bring in lobbying, just like Buea has lobbies here, public relations. They were going to come in with defense assistance. They were going to come in with diplomacy, and they were going to assist even with the reconstruction. They were going to assist with raising money for this struggle, and they were going to get a percentage of that money. That percentage of this money, that's where you got the $1 million. It was not like we were going to pay them, we were going to raise $1 million and pay to these individuals. No, this money was going to be raised by these individuals, and they were going to get a percentage. Their consultation fee was $17,000. I questioned the $17,000 from the beginning, and that is why I did not pay it even when Siseko was there. I paid it in February after Siseko was abducted. I think Barrister Bobga advised that I should pay it because we had already committed. Now, when you are going to consult here, particularly here in the US, there is a fee. Even you are going to see a lawyer. The lawyer is going to tell you my consultation is $300 or $1,000. Whether you retain them or not, you are going to pay that fee, and that $17,000 went for the retention fee of that particular entity. Now, it's the same thing with Plan B. Plan B, these individuals were brought on board by John Egiawan. I don't know how he met them. Initially, I was alienated, but they realized that he was going to deal with financial. There was no way that he was going to keep me out, even though he tried to restrict the information. Even for me, discussing the information with my department and the investment committee was problematic, but I make sure that I had to talk to these individuals for also to get people. You cannot engage with monumental changes in a community like ours without you seeking the input of your people. So I did, and I brought in a lawyer to review the contract. The one thing that I find a little bit disturbing in all of this is during that same time that we're doing this Plan B, I think it was supposed to be, I'll put the record out. They want the record out, I'll put it out. I think it was supposed to come in with $20 million for diplomacy, defense, PR work, everything that the package entailed. And I was looking like, the conditions where they were going to have first priority with our resources, the oil, the mineral resources, agricultural products, and all of that. And then I'm sitting there and wondering, I'm like, why would we be demonizing Choayaba for going to the UK to sign a deal, an oil deal, and raise money to prosecute this revolution? Meanwhile, you are doing the same thing here. So I found that a little bit disturbing, and that has been my position of saying that we cannot, and that's why I do not go out to demonize any of these frontline groups, because if they're doing anything that is going to go for the interests of this revolution, I am all in to support that. So it is I mean, it's shameful that we can vilify another comrade to that extent, when you, Sako, you are doing the same thing. The commitment of the resources of that Southern Amazonian were done without even seeking the input of the people. And guess what? I knew that I was just like a parasite in the whole project. I had even gone to New York to meet with these guys, and we slept in New York. Sako himself got so scared. He said it was a CIA sting operation to arrest us. He did not show up. How could somebody pay their money from Europe? Somebody you're trying for him to fund your revolution will fly from Europe to meet with the president, and the president will chicken out. He said, "Oh, you guys go and meet when it's come to time of signing. I will come and sign." So you have become so big. You're, as we say, pola. They would have to go there and deliberate. When it is ready, they will come and present it to you to sign. But you have already signed the initial document. The person got here frustrated, did not see you, pretended that they were engaging with us, and then they left. Immediately these problems started, and he said he had recalled the government. The first thing he did is write a letter to these individuals, telling them that they have removed Brado from the government. Moving forward, they have to deal with John Egiawan. Unfortunately, my relationship with these individuals, they forwarded me all of that information. I mean, even as a matter of about 3 weeks ago, John Egiawan forwarded the fraud from the Restoration Council, removing SSE to tell them that this is Sako is the president of the Federal Republic of Amazonia. Any dealings with Brado is unacceptable and all of that. This individual still forwarded that information to me. And I'm asking, and one of them really asked, are you people really serious? We came in, do you think that a businessman is going to invest his money where he knows that there is internal fighting? We are not going to do that. And I'm telling you, John, know that that foolishness that you and AIP Sako engage in, thinking that you were going to be smart, they are not going to deal with you. So sit there and begin to think that they're going to parachute someday pure and give you the resources you need so that you will be the first to get to Buea. And it will be voila. It will be you, John, and Sako and the other gang. You are mistaken. The people from that group that we've been dealing with, I have spoken to them. It is not even my place to tell them about the internal fighting because I am not going to do that. But you guys went and told them that there is internal fighting, submitted documents to them to show that our group now is a legitimate group. The other ones, what a shame and a disgrace to our people. So that is what happened with my trip to Buea. The records are there. I'm going to provide the records and everybody to see them. So I am going to the financial statements. The financial statements again from February, from November 2017 to December 2018 are available. The quarterly statements are there. They were not done on time, but every record is there for anybody who wants to review the records would see. I will provide copies. The bank signatories, I hear a lot that I refuse to provide access to the banks. I refuse to hand over the banks. I mean, come on. Dr. Sako is a signatory to this account. For those of you who are here in the US, as a signatory and part owner to these accounts, he also has the authority to add people into this account. How come nobody is asking him if Brado refused all of these things? Why didn't you allow these individuals to come and you add them into their accounts? That is just as simple as that. And then in March, when he came out with this whole charade of the Treasury Board, he announced that they should freeze the accounts and they will open new accounts. Listen, that was a big fat lie. The account was already open in January. And he knew that I had that information, that account was open and I was going to reveal it. So he quickly came in to blindside the people and tell them that, oh, we are going to open an account. So that account was opened with Chase Bank in Dallas in January. And how did they open accounts without them having the necessary paperwork to open an account? Yes, that answers the question. when Sako came in, I provided him with all the paperwork that belong to this organization. He has the copies of the EI numbers for those of you who are here in the US. He has the state incorporating documents, and then the treasury board that he put together, headed by Richard Tangu, connived. He worked with them. They went in and amended the charter of the Articles of Incorporation, which is a crime in the first place. They connived, I think, with the former president of the Treasury Board, Dr. Festus Ndei, and concocted some board of directors meeting, submitted it, and changed the charter. If I was this problematic, I would have just gone back to the state of Maryland. I go there every day. I do incorporations. I filed for 501Cs. I filed for the 501C for the foundation. I would have just gone back down to Baltimore and raised the issue that this is the situation and we should be in court right now trying to resolve this problem. But I look at these things and say, no, you know what? Sometimes there's no reason to fight these things. This is all for the struggle. If they're doing it the proper way, I do not have a problem. Even up to now, for this account, my own citizenship levy, they are still taking the citizenship levy from my own account. I have not closed it. Why? People will ask, why are you still leaving your citizenship levy over there? Because I believe that until we've put in a proper structure, money probably still needed to be used to do a couple of things. I know a lot of people will not agree with that, but I do understand that. But I will be doing another presentation pretty much next week to present the new platform that we have used. Then I would call on every individual who is still using the old platform to transfer their payments, citizenship levy into the new platform. So this is the situation. The Braintree account, the PayPal. Richard Tangu proceeded in changing the access to the PayPal account without even informing me. I raised the issue to Sako and said, why would anybody change the access that I gave them to the account without even consulting me? Ended up, because of the too much activity in the account, PayPal has shut down the account. I don't know. I think they shut down the account with about $10,000 balance in the account. I don't know what is in there. Braintree also, the password was changed without consulting me. I do not complain. I just know that at any given time when we review the records, we will see the activity. It is easy to run a report on Braintree. Easy to run a report on PayPal and see that this is the actual balance. I actually have the money that came in from the 1099 for PayPal. The Braintree, I don't have it. I don't even have access to it anymore. So that is the situation. The Treasury Board, he said, well, I refuse to allow the Treasury Board that he appointed to take over the Treasury because there were certain things that I was hiding. That's not true. I refuse to do that in principle. You look at the composition of the Treasury Board. I mean, I know a lot of people will say, oh, you people are bringing up tribalism and all of that. No, you cannot have a Treasury Board where there are about 9 people, all of them are coming from the same region. And almost, even from the same region, almost 80% of them are coming from the same county. And I refuse to go along with that kind of nonsense. You cannot even appoint somebody without little or no background in finance or accounting to head a Treasury Board as to what the organigram had clearly stipulated. I sought for remedies on how to fix it. I made proposals to him that I have on record. I will provide it. That were completely dismissed. Even the idea about a Treasury Board, it's something that I had earmarked to set up together because there was a need to separate the board of directors of the foundation and the National Treasury. And that is what I have done so far with what I am putting up now, which I was not given the opportunity to do it because you have to separate the board of directors of the Amazonian Foundation with the National Treasury. Then there is a clear demarcation, and there is one that can actually provide oversight on the order. And the desire was to have an inclusive treasury with representative from the counties. Initially, I suggested the other frontline movements, or each representative from the 13 counties, and the representatives from 2 representatives from the country coordinators, a defense representative, and a representative from the civil society would want representative from the cabinet, so that the cabinet do not or does not have this absolute control over finances. There is somebody that can actually in real time understand what is going back and forth. So that is the situation with the treasury. I would be doing an interview maybe subsequently with Mark Barretta for people who have questions. I'm ready to provide additional information as to what things that need clarity. Just a quick point out on His Excellency Sisukwa Yoktabe, and I think I had earlier mentioned why he got to the decision of recalling the cabinet, but to go out there and verify this guy and declare to the entire world that he is compromised, he is now talking on the side of La Republique. Not only do you put his life in that jail in danger, because you have committed and die-hard Southern Cameroonians in that jail who have believed and trusted in his call for complete separation of our people. And then to now turn around and they are being told that this guy is compromised. He is now on the side and even on the payroll of La Republique with the lives that have been lost. Not only do you put his own security and the security of the people in jail, in danger, his entire family. You get people who have lost everything that they own. They have lost their livelihood. They have lost family members out here that are furious. And when you go out and you tell them that the person who personifies or who is the face of this struggle is the one that is now in bed with the enemy. I mean, you're telling the enemy that this guy is even safer now with you people than with us, because I believe strongly that with the viciousness in one of the interviews that I had Secretary Chris did with VOA, with the level of vitriol that came out of his mouth, if Seseku Julius Ayoktabe is removed from that jail and given to AIP Sako and Chris and Co., he will be devoured like he has fallen in a cage of lions. And we must not tolerate this. We must not be this desperate to hang on to power. We must not be this desperate out here thinking that the person that is sitting in jail have become our number one enemy. Because if you tell people that he's compromised, why do you want that they should send him out? He should not come out. You would not want that somebody who is working with the Buea regime should come out here because he will be working against you. Are you just sending code messages to La Republique that I know we've prayed and send curse messages to him? But I am going to tell you people that he and the other leaders remain strong. There's no hidden fact that he speaks with me. I speak with him. I talk to them. But let's understand that there is nothing that he wants apart from seeing our people liberated, apart from seeing us get to Yaoundé. And his message is clear. There would be either we get to Buea or we're going to continue this resistance and this revolution, because we cannot at this time consider any other alternative. That is his message. Given the atrocities that have been committed in our communities, the people who have died, the property that has been damaged, the destruction of the fabrics, the moral fabric of our community. And we as a people are not going to stand to allow a handful of desperados who think that it is either power or nothing to try to derail them or impugn on their integrity and their characters. We would stand up and we would resist. I'm going to assure you that the president remains steadfast.